Imagine opening your eyes and the first thing you notice is silence. No cars, no electricity, no screens, just the cold air of a world that should not exist. You stand up, look around, and realize an impossible truth. You've been thrown centuries into the past. People nearby stare at your clothes like you're some kind of spirit. The smell of wood smoke fills the air. Horses pull carts across muddy roads. And suddenly, every comfort of modern life, every machine, every medicine, every piece of knowledge has vanished. You have nothing in your pockets, no tools, no devices, no internet. But you do have one thing, everything you remember. Your mind becomes your greatest weapon. So here's the question. What 5 pieces of knowledge are powerful enough to reshape all of human history? Even if you arrive in the past with empty hands. In this video, I'll walk you through the 5 ideas I would use to transform civilization itself. Ideas that require no modern technology. Ideas that any ordinary person could explain, but that could shift the timeline by centuries. Let's begin. The first thing I'd introduce is not a device, not a formula, not a chemical. It's a mindset. The scientific method. In most periods of the past, people were brilliant, but trapped by tradition, trapped by superstition, trapped by the belief that authority equals truth. I would teach a radical idea. Don't trust me, don't trust anyone. Test everything. I'd gather local scholars, priests, scribes, physicians, and show them simple demonstrations. Drop 2 stones of different sizes. Let them watch them hit the ground at the same time. Suddenly, Aristotle's heavy falls faster is dead. Heat water. Trap the steam under a lid and show them pressure. Suddenly, air is empty stops being a belief. Every demonstration becomes a seed. Every seed becomes a method. I'd explain, ask a clear question, predict what might happen, test it, measure the results, share the findings. If even a handful of educated people start using this system, medicine advances earlier, engineering becomes consistent, astronomy becomes accurate. Civilizations grow not by luck, but by evidence. The scientific method alone could accelerate human progress by centuries. The second idea I would bring to the past is simple on the surface, but world-shattering once people understand it. Invisible organisms cause disease. In almost every ancient civilization, sickness was explained through superstition. Curses, bad spirits, imbalanced humors, or the wrath of gods. People had no concept of contagion, no concept of sanitation, no understanding of bacteria, or why epidemics exploded without warning. I would start with the basics. Take a bowl of dirty water and let it sit. Watch it grow cloudy, smell foul, attract insects. Then boil that same water and watch how the smell disappears, how the insects avoid it, how it becomes safe to drink. Simple, visual, unforgettable. Next, I would explain how diseases spread. Through hands touching wounds, through shared cups and tools, through contaminated food, through crowded gatherings, through dirty water sources. Then I'd demonstrate the 3 practices that could save more lives than any weapon or king in history. 1. Hand washing with soap. I'd teach them how to make soap from animal fat and ash, something any medieval village can produce. 2. Boiling instruments and cloth. Heat becomes the first disinfectant they ever encounter. 3. Separating the sick from the healthy. A primitive form of quarantine, centuries ahead of its time. To prove that this isn't magic, I'd show them a controlled experiment. 2 identical wounds. One treated with dirty hands. One cleaned, sterilized, wrapped with honey. Nature's earliest antibiotic. The difference in healing would be undeniable. Once people witness infection prevented, not cured, their entire worldview shifts. Physicians become curious instead of superstitious. Midwives adopt cleaner practices. Armies lose fewer soldiers to infection. Children survive diseases that once wiped out villages. Population grows. Trade stabilizes. Knowledge accumulates instead of dying with every epidemic, and perhaps the most powerful change, entire plagues that devastated our timeline, might never happen at all. One person armed with germ theory could save more lives than the greatest emperor who ever lived. If ideas are powerful, printing is how you make them immortal. Most societies relied on hand-copied manuscripts. A single book could take months, but with even a basic printing system, everything changes. I'd demonstrate a simple press, a flat surface, wooden blocks, ink made from soot and oil, a screw press mechanism, easy to build with carpentry skills. I'd teach craftsmen how to carve reusable letters, how to align them, how to produce identical pages. Then I'd show the real magic, reproducibility. One book becomes 10, 10 becomes 100. Knowledge begins to spread faster than any plague. Laws become standardized. Schools become more effective. Scientific findings can move from city to city. And once literacy spreads, society becomes harder to manipulate because information becomes public. Printing doesn't just share knowledge, it multiplies it. Every other idea I bring becomes more powerful because printing carries it across borders. The next idea may not sound dramatic by ear, but it is the quiet force behind every great civilization, agriculture. If I want to reshape the past, I need to reshape how people grow food. Because in history, famine killed more people than war, and hunger slowed progress more than any enemy army. I'd start by visiting local farmers and showing them a shockingly simple idea. Different plants take different nutrients from the soil. If you plant the same crop again and again, the soil dies. But if you rotate crops, wheat one year, beans the next, barley after, the land heals itself. This alone could double or even triple yields. Then I would introduce something even more revolutionary, fertilizer science, not chemicals, just smarter use of what they already have, ash manure, compost, crushed bones. Each adds something specific, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. I teach them how to mix these materials, how to spread them evenly, how to store them so the nutrients don't wash away in rain. Next, I'd explain selective breeding with both plants and animals. Choose the strongest, healthiest, most productive examples. Breed only those. Repeat every generation. Suddenly grains become larger, livestock becomes stronger, milk, meat, wool, everything improves. Then comes irrigation. I'd show them how to build low-tech water channels, raised banks, and simple water wheels that lift water using rotational force. Even the timing of planting and harvesting, guided by temperature patterns and sunlight, can shift productivity dramatically. And finally, I'd show them how to treat food like treasure. Dry it properly, store it in sealed containers, protect grain from moisture and rats, use elevated wooden platforms to let air circulate. Everything I teach requires nothing but knowledge, yet the results compound fast. With more food, people become healthier, children survive winter, cities grow, trade flourishes. And civilization finally has the one thing it always lacked: stability. Agriculture is not just about surviving, it's about unlocking every future breakthrough that depends on a well-fed population. Now we arrive at the idea that feels closest to magic: mechanical power. Most societies before the modern age relied on three sources of energy: human muscles, animal muscles, and the wind. But all of these are limited. They get tired. They depend on weather. They cap the growth of civilization. So my goal would be to introduce a concept. Not a fully built machine, but the seed of something far greater. Heat can become motion. I'd begin with a small demonstration. Place a sealed container above a fire. As the water inside boils, pressure builds. The lid rattles. Steam escapes with force. To a medieval craftsman, this is nothing short of supernatural. I'd explain. This pressure can push things. It can move metal rods. It can drive wheels. I would draw diagrams of a primitive atmospheric steam engine, the same kind that historically appeared centuries later. A heated chamber, a piston inside a cylinder, steam pushing the piston upward, cooling, pulling it back down, a system of levers translating the motion into usable work. Nothing here requires modern materials, just iron, wood, and craftsmanship. Once this idea lands, the implications are enormous. Mines can drain water without hundreds of workers. Grain can be milled faster and more evenly. Bellows for furnaces can run continuously. Workshops can replace human labor with mechanical repetition. This wouldn't immediately create trains or factories, but it would spark curiosity, the real fuel of progress. Engineers would refine the design. Blacksmiths would adapt it, merchants would finance it, kings would weaponize it. Within a few generations, you could see the earliest shadow of an industrial revolution, one beginning centuries before ours. And once mechanical power enters the world, history no longer crawls, it accelerates. So if I were thrown into the past with nothing but my memory, I wouldn't waste time wishing for the world I lost. I'd start building a better world from the pieces that already exist. And the blueprint for that world wouldn't be made of metal or stone. It would be made of ideas. Because ideas survive. Ideas travel. Ideas slip through borders, spread across towns, grow inside minds, and reshape entire eras long after the person who introduced them is gone. Let's look at the concepts we explored, not as inventions, but as forces of civilization. The scientific method, the engine of truth. Once a society learns to question and test, progress becomes unstoppable. Germ theory, the shield of humanity. A culture that understands hygiene becomes harder for disease to destroy. Printing, the multiplier of every idea that follows. Knowledge stops being a privilege for the elite and becomes fuel for everyone. Modern agriculture, the bedrock of stability. Well-fed people create art, science, innovation, and history. Mechanical power, the spark that transforms effort into industry. From that spark comes everything from tools to factories to entire revolutions. But here's the truth hidden beneath this whole thought experiment. Time travel is just a metaphor. The real question isn't what you or I would do in the past. It's what we're doing right now, in every age. Medieval, industrial, digital. It's not technology alone that moves the world forward. It's people with the courage to introduce new ideas, even when everyone else thinks those ideas are impossible. You don't need a time machine to change the future. You only need one thought powerful enough to shift the way people live. So now I want to hear something important from you. If you woke up tomorrow in the past with no tools and no technology, what knowledge would you share first? Which idea do you believe is strong enough to rewrite history? Tell me in the comments. Your answer might inspire the next episode, or spark a discussion that changes how someone sees the world today. Because every timeline, even this one, is shaped by the ideas we choose to spread.